And we are here at River City Extreme Entertainment Center in Monticello, Minnesota. Stepladder finals for the PBA50 River City Extreme Open presented by Hammer. I'm Phil Brylow. Tom Carter. You see down in the lanes watching one of his staffers, Amleto Monacelli, before this match gets started. Monacelli will be battling Ron Mohr in this opening match. Winner of this match will proceed to battle Pete Weber. Will battle James Campbell, as Campbell is the 3 seed. Pete Weber got enough pins in his position round match to leapfrog Campbell and get into the number 2 spot. First time we've seen Pete in the stepladder final in over 15 months. And our top seed today, and he had a heck of a day, 11-1 in match play, Brian LeClair. Big last game of match play for LeClair against Campbell. LeClair put up 249 to leapfrog and take that top spot in this stepladder for the PBA50 River City Extreme Open. Players are just finishing up their last half a minute of practice or so. This is a fresh application of the 45-foot Dick Weber pattern for these players. For this stepladder, all the players together had about 15 minutes of practice before 3 players had to vacate, leaving just these 2 players involved. And we will let John Weber make his announcements.
Amleto starts the match on the left lane. Amleto Monacelli is a 20-time PBA Tour champion. He's won 9 times out there in the PBA50 Tour. He's a 2-time PBA Tour Player of the Year, USDC and PBA Hall of Famer, Amleto Monacelli. And his opponent is a 10-time champion out there in the PBA50 Tour. He's a 2-time PBA50 Tour Player of the Year and 3-time PBA60 Tour Player of the Year. Give it up for PBA Hall of Famer Ron Mohr. Guys, good luck.
And joining me in the booth is Tom Carter. Tom, you had a chance to talk to Amleto during the practice session here, and Amleto really had some ups and downs during match play today. What's he going to do to try to stay up on the scoreboard?
Well, excuse me, they're bowling on the fresh, and so that's a big help because the lanes just really transitioned kind of spooky today. Some of the pairs you had no back end, some of the pairs hooked extremely early. So he's going back to the ball he actually qualified with, and I bowled with him the whole week, and that's exactly what he did for 16 games.
So the opening strike there by Amleto.
Both of those guys are throwing a asymmetrical ball, pin up, get it down the lane, get the ball into a roll. There's only, amazingly, 45 feet of oil on this pattern, supposedly at 21 mils.
And not a surprise there. Ron Mohr answers an opponent's strike with a strike of his own.
Well, a lot of people were saying, how come they hook so much at 45 feet? Well, there's only 32 feet of applied oil. The rest of it's buff, so there is plenty of back end.
Because what a lot of people may not realize as amateur players, they just think of oil, the ball is always going to skid in oil. If you have enough surface on the bowling ball and the oil is buffed out to a point, it's going to eat through that oil just like a snow tire.
Yeah, but unfortunately it eats through the oil in the front part of the lane, which creates early hook. And all these patterns seem to have a speed bump down at the end, and that carries down and it makes that ball wiggle a little bit.
So Mohr looking for the double. He's asking for it to stay out. And how about that, Tom? It stays out.
Well, in the beginning, on this fresh pattern, we got some push, and both these guys are throwing pearl balls. Amleto's throwing a hybrid. So we're getting the ball to skid through the front part of the lane. The interesting thing is going to happen later in the match, and we actually talked to Walter Ray about it. If they use the wrong surface and they play with the wrong part of the lane, it could be extremely touchy in this championship match. The lanes could get a little bit weird.
And there is Monticello. Get that
Oh.
9 out of there.
All week, he got the ball to just past the break point out there around 8. And today, the way the lanes broke down, if you got it to 8, you 2-8-10'd. The ball just never came back. You know, the guys were playing much deeper today in match play than they did in qualifying. Right now, we're seeing exactly more what happened in qualifying in the early rounds.
Now, you mentioned the bowling ball Amleto's using. It's a hybrid cover stack. What exactly is a hybrid for those kind of new to the game?
Well, it's part solid, part pearl. And so that gives you kind of the best of both worlds. The pearl gets down the lane and gives you a little more back end, but the solid in it gives it the smoothness. So you don't see an overabundance of sharp angles on the back end.
Yeah, because sharp angles on this 45-foot pattern seem to cause a lot of problems.
There was a couple guys crossing with me and next to me that like to see sharp angles. Unfortunately, that's not exactly what you wanted to see, because that was either big 4, 2-8-10, or strike.
There were so many times today during match play where we saw a string of and a big string of strikes today was a 5-bagger, and that would end with a split. It almost seemed like every time.
Every shot that wasn't pure today, it was, and you paid maximum penalty. You hardly broke anything up. And Ron Mohr is the king of breaking up messes and tripping 4-pins.
Nice shot there by Mohr.
See, these guys today, right now on the show are playing so much tighter than we did in qualifying.
And, yeah, you did not see many 3-baggers to start games all week long.
No. I mean, the pattern and the pairs were tricky. Lanes 11 through 16, they had everybody's number. It was real easy for somebody to shoot 130, 150 on those pairs. Then they got outside of those pairs, they could shoot 250.
Both players perfect through 3. Mohr in the 4th, just flush.
Yeah, he's exactly where he played this week. I mean, like I said earlier, the guys are playing what they did in qualifying. They're crossing 17 at the arrows. They're taking it to 8, and they got just a wonderful look at the back end of the lane, which is not really over or under. It's just a smooth transition. How that's going to break out later is going to be a little interesting.
Why was it just the way the players played the lanes from Wednesday to Thursday that made that huge change in the scores dropping?
Every squad started deeper than the squad before, and they just got ugly. Nobody ever played out to try to get some oil to carry down the lane. And this is what I was worried about. Amleto moved in just a little bit, and now we got this thing that we started to see. You know, the ball wanting to go a little bit too far and not make the turn, and he's probably going, I think I threw that pretty good, and the ball didn't make the turn. And what happens is that front part of the lane dries out so quick. If you move right, then it hooks early. So now you're kind of, you're in that trap of, do I move left? Do I take my hand out of it? Do I change balls? And your mind's going 1,000 miles a minute.
And there's such a low volume in this pattern. It's only 21.25 milliliters of oil. A lot of these patterns out here on the 50 tour, 24, 25, 26 units of oil.
Well, see, that's a big thing that people, they look at the distance. Oh, it's 45 feet. Oh, it's got to be a ton. I look at it like taking a rubber band, and the rubber band is so thick, but when you stretch it out, it becomes extremely thin. And it's the same amount of rubber band, but it's just thinner, and that's what this pattern is. It's like they took a 35-foot pattern, stretched it to 45 foot. There's not hardly any volume on there, and the front part of the lane just gives away pretty quick, and then it becomes the trick of getting it through the front part of the lane, getting it around the puddle on the back, and getting it to strike.
Do we know the flavor of gum that Amleto is chewing right now?
I do not.
Okay.
Oh, I got a story about Amleto. That I crossed with him all week, and I was fortunate enough to sneak out a check in this thing. But, I always pronounce his name wrong. It's Amleto. I always stick an A in there. It's Amleto. And he goes, don't you know the English pronunciation of Amleto? And I go, no. He goes, in English, my name is Hamlet. And I went, what? It is Hamlet. And I go, oh, Shakespeare, huh? And he goes, yeah, just like Shakespeare. My English name is Hamlet.
Because it would be an Italian derivation of,
right?
Because he's of Italian heritage as well.
So when he was striking so much in qualifying, I called him, he was doing the Shakespeare shuffle.
At least he wasn't drinking poison. So Ron Mohr looking to stay perfect through 5. And I'll tell you what, this building, you could hear a pencil drop right now between shots.
Compared to last year when the phone went off.
So,
Ron Mohr gets on a strike fest. He will strike a lot because that guy can repeat shots day in and day out. And if you were listening to John Weber on the opening, he was talking about how many sit-ups and push-ups that Ron does. I mean, it's the only reason Ron makes a bad shot isn't because he gets tired, because he doesn't get tired. No. It's just because, you know, the lane's changed and he missed the transition. And if he has a shot, he will repeat all day long.
So Ron Mohr inducted into the PBA Hall of Fame back in 2018 just from his performance on this PBA50 tour.
Well, he got to 10 titles pretty quick. And all the majors that he's won.
He's walking it out. And you heard it come up, and it never did.
You also heard it hit the lane a little bit different than the rest of them. And the key to this, and you're going to see it when James Campbell comes up, a little bit of loft on this pattern really made the strike percentage go up. If you got the ball down a little bit too early, you got to the pocket, but you just couldn't get out of 10-pin. I mean, you shot a lot of 10-pins. Or that wiggle down lane, you shot a lot of 7-10s.
Now, is that a naturally polished bowling ball?
Yes.
Okay, for Mohr, so.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he's even hardly cracked the shine on that with, you know, Avalon pad or Sierra pad or whatever. It's pretty shiny. Ameleto's, on the other hand, has been done with a 2000, and then we kind of lightly hit it with a 1500 just to give it a little mid-lane motion, because with Ameleto's release, he likes to see the ball go, you know, right to left. And if I don't give him that move on the back end, then he tries to overhit it, I think, sometimes.
Monacelli won title array this season back at the USBC Senior Masters in Las Vegas. That was his 5th PBA50 major title.
That was a fun title to watch, because if you were there and watched any of it, you also got to see Amleto throw 2 gutter balls in the previous game, and it was amazingly he got to the, you know, in the title, because the angle he was playing, it was so steep, he was sending it clear to the gutter, and if he missed a little bit, it was in the gutter.
You see the big breath from Monticello. Knows work to be done here. He can take a 12-pin advantage with another strike here in the 7th frame.
Ameleto's really good at breathing, meditating, and slowing everything down and taking his time. He's learned that over the years. You know, you got to keep your heart rate down. You get into these matches, those 10 frames go by so quick.
So Monacelli here, 7th frame. Wow, that thing just sliced.
In the position round match, his left lane, 15 and 16, the left lane went away so bad that, I mean, those guys were, him against Pete, they're lofting the left gutter just trying to get it down the lane. And this left lane could be going through some transition, but he's still a little bit farther inside than Ron Mohr is right now.
So Monacelli's spare here has him down by just a pin. You always see how huge count can be by the end of the game. This could be an example.
Well, this isn't an easy spare either.
Because the 45-foot pattern, it doesn't have a lot of drop-off in oil mid-lane, down-lane from inside to outside. Well, it almost seemed to accelerate on occasion when a bowler missed outside like 8th board.
Well, yeah, and we've seen a bunch of guys, they swing it out there like that thinking it's going to come back because, you know, it hooks so much on the inside. And then the ball just skid out, and you hit the 6-10, and it went even close to the 3. And I did see a couple of guys swing it out there and throw it right in the gutter. You know, Ron Mohr's got that pin outside. His mass is out. It's kind of like what old school we'd call a 1-inch stack. Everything's just kind of outside. It's kind of a very rolly drilling.
Needs to roll hard, and there's a washout. And he's looking at back-to-back open frames.
Well, there wasn't a lot of balls that went down the lane outside to break them down outside. A lot of the guys already started in the practice at around the 3rd arrow. So I have to believe that they're just going to keep moving left, and there's going to be more of an out of bounds. But Brian LeClair coming from 10th all the way to 1st, he figured it out.
Yeah, and did that and just whoop.
Oops.
And
there was some people. Yeah, somebody in the crowd just it's an entertainment center. I mean, this is a beautiful facility, and it's crowded, and we have big games behind us. We have a boutique behind us, and, you know, kids come in.
I think that was the big kids in that one, though, Tom.
That was the big kids?
That was the big kids. And now another open frame for Mohr, and he's falling behind this match. So
he's got to regroup because he obviously heard something. That's what he balked up. He's got to let that go now.
So, yeah, I mean, during qualifying this week for you guys, I mean, when 24 lanes are going with 3 guys in a pair, it was tough to hear that game room actually going on. Because the number of qualifier and number of bowlers still in play came down. You could definitely pick up some noises from the game room.
Especially if they play in the hockey machine back there.
Yeah, and they put it in full shutdown now, so we don't have to worry about that. But Ron Mohr's got to worry about finding some strikes again. Quick on the thumb. Wow.
He got away with that, but he definitely wasn't posted on that shot. It was like he might have lost his footing. He's shaking his head like I got away with. That was a gift.
So Max for Mohr 243. Max for Monticello 254. Monticello, 20 career PBA Tour titles on the Kids Tour, and that includes one back in Japan, back in 2016. Everybody loves taking home that DHC Japan Invitational.
Well, it looks like he's really got the left lane wired. He's crossing like 18 to 12, and as the end of the day came in qualifying today in this match play round, and that's where you had to be. That thing is swinging it outside of 10 down lane, and normally, for the most part, our break point is always around 8-10. But this pattern transitions in such a weird way that you have to keep it, as I'm looking at this pattern, right on this little cliff right here, because if you get off of it, it's like this pattern looks like it's stair-stepped. And if you fall off of one step to the other, it's no good. And bad juju. Amleto's style is a little bit so different than when he started, when he came over at 18, 19 years old, where, there you go, that was a great shot, where he held the ball a little higher, his hand was under it more, and he opened up a lot stronger in his backswing and just labeled on it every shot.
This is Monacelli's 25th career stepladder final on the PBA50 tour. Ron Mohr, of course, a few more years of experience or more under his belt.
Look at Ron Mohr, that index finger just kinked up on that ball. What that does, it keeps that wrist really locked in position. You put that much pressure on that index finger, and that right lane has just sent him, unfortunately, I think, sent him home.
And that is, I mean, that ball leaked out to about 6 board, and there was just
That's
zero
what I said.
recovery.
You get it down, and you would think if there's only 32 feet of applied oil and the rest of it's buff, I still got basically 20 feet of dry back in because that buff just gets thinner and thinner, right?
Right.
But you get it out there, that ball does not even think about coming back.
Now, this is Ron Mohr's 40th career stepladder final in just 122 PBA50 events.
Oh, a good attempt. He was going to back that ball up like a lefty and try to pop that over there. Ron Mohr's best now is 111. 211. 111. Gets 30 in a 10th. He'll shoot 211. Amleto still looking at 250.
And trip the 4, leave the 10.
I think the biggest thing that's hurting Ron right now is Amleto's throwing it just a little bit firmer. Ron's got a little bit slower ball speed, gives that ball a little bit more time to react. Now he's just kind of going through the motions.
So right now for Mohr, 201 the max, and Amleto's just got to show up to the 10th.
So Amleto taking on the new guy, James Campbell. He was tournament leader there for a while. He was just running over everybody.
Campbell's got a lot of stuff going on from the regional tour, 7 regional wins.
He's a player. I mean, very methodical in his approach. Takes a little more time on the approach and a lot of the guys, but it sure paid off for him this week.
So Monticello's going to finish. I'm sure you're going to have a chat with your man really quick, Tom. So we're going to let Amleto finish out.
I'm going to go down and see what Amleto sees, and I'll let you know in the next match.
Absolutely. Tell him not to leave any more 8-pins. We'll be back with that Stepladder match number 2, Campbell versus Monacelli, coming up after Campbell's practice.
Ron Mohr, everybody. Ron Mohr. As well, James Campbell, everybody, and then Amleto Monacelli. Nice, good luck.
And here we go into match number 2 here of this stepladder. Number 3 seed James Campbell going to be battling Amleto Monacelli. Monacelli 233 to 200. Took out Ron Mohr in the opening match. And any strategy changes?
Everything is going as planned. He's got he didn't even take any practice shots. He didn't want the lanes to change. You know, the more shots you take, the more the lane changes, and he didn't even want to take any practice shots. So it's going to be interesting to see how. I mean, James is a seasoned bowler, so it's not that like there's nerves going to be going on, but I'm sure that bowling for your first, you know, on the PBA50 tour on TV for the first time and bowling for a title, he's got to be a little bit going on, but I think he'll handle it very well.
Yeah, I mean, you only have Pete Weber and Brian LeClair ahead of you if you get out of this match with a Hall of Famer as well. So
yeah, you know, what's there to worry about? Just more Hall of Famers down the road.
And I wouldn't say tentative on that shot for Campbell because the speed was good, but it looked a little farther left than
it also looked like he got a little bit forward at the foul line too. So, which, you know, getting your weight forward is also going to create the ball to roll a little bit early, hook a little sooner. You're not going to get that good projection to your target. So the first frame or two could be a little bit of nerves, but I think that'll get over pretty quickly. And because he led there for a while, he was running over people on this qualifying.
Campbell with the spare.
And he's using the ball right now that he didn't really use the whole week that much. I mean, he bowled right next to me, and for the most part, I kept seeing that Black Widow Pink go down the lane. He threw that a lot, and a Triton Elite. This is a little bit different, so he must see something a little bit different on the lanes. He's at 4th arrow to 12, and that's exactly where he played all week. He's not going to – I don't think he'll migrate too much from that if he can't help it.
I'm watching his release, and it looks like when he's at the top of his release, his fingers are almost pointing at like a 45-degree angle back down towards the lane.
Yeah, well, that's the after effect. I mean, it looks like he starts his rotation. The ball's gone, and his hand just keeps on moving around. It's kind of like if you really watch Tommy Baker, he does the same thing. As his hand goes around, you see the follow through the palm of his hands facing the pins. Yeah. You're like, what's that all about? And you see everybody else up the back of the ball with the palm of their hand facing their face.
And Monticelli. Oh, that's something we didn't see a lot of today. We saw some 7-10s, some 4s, or some 9s, but not both.
4 9s wasn't something that popped up in qualifying or in match play. You're right. 7-10s were bigger than anything else. He left some solid 9s, but the 4-9 wasn't really there.
So Monticello back in 2018 took down the Northern California Classic. 2016 took down the national championship for the PBA for another major. And was that just an attempt to count there? I don't think he was trying too hard to.
No, he wasn't trying to pick it up. He just, saved the count. I mean, it's early. It's only the second frame. And you remember last game, he was behind up until about the sixth frame. So it's just a slight adjustment. I think he might have caught a little bit more than that one than he expected. I asked him about that one errant shot on the left lane where the ball just went, and he said that he didn't get his hips down underneath him well enough to create any leverage to make the ball react. So to me, that means that you're a little bit too far forward at the foul line. All depends on how you say it.
Sure. That third step squeak from Monticello results in a 5-step strike.
It was amazing. In qualifying, he had some friends here. He came back to talk to him, and somebody had knocked over a cup of coffee. Nobody's seen it, and he stepped right in it.
Oh.
And he went up, and he slid his foot. And he couldn't even move, and the whole bottom of his shoe was soaked. And it was kind of a panic moment because he's looking for new soles to try to put on his shoe.
So Campbell taking an extra second to compose himself here before getting up in the third.
He takes a little bit longer on the approach than a lot of the guys to get set up, but obviously when he went 200 and some over that one block, it didn't affect him any. He's got a real, a long thought process before he starts, because you can tell he takes some time before he gets going. But once he gets going, the feet are moving. Yeah, exactly. It looks like his hand's going totally around his elbows facing the wall and his hand down, And, good point. He could be trying to add a little bit more to the ball than he needs to. So at the bottom of the swing, his hand's just going around it.
So he'll go to the lesser hooking ball. Not sure if it's a polyester in his hand or not. I would believe it would be.
I would think it would be. Throwing something that was reactive on this at that would scare me, because it's and there's like no way to pick it up.
And right on line, and no problem there.
He's a good spare shooter, right? But for 16 games, if he missed one in 16 games, that would have been a lot. I know he was pretty excited about getting on the show. That shirt that he's wearing, his son designed, so he was pretty proud of getting that shirt on.
Yeah, this is just Campbell's 6th PBA50 National Tour event.
Yeah, and he's making a show. I mean, the guys out here know how to bowl. We got the only sport that, if you got a chance to come out and bowl and it's on your bucket list, that you get to rub elbows and bowl against the greatest bowlers in the world and be on the same pair with them, You don't get to do that in basketball, baseball, or football. You're not going to let you on the field to play, This is something, if it's on your bucket list and you got a chance to come out and bowl a PBA 50 stop, you need to do it, because the guys out here are great. They're fun to be with, and it's just bowling. It's all about having some fun.
So Monticello looking to respond with a double to get right back into this game. Gets it through, and go.
That was there has to be an adjustment on that right lane, because that was almost, it wasn't a 4.9, but it's definitely a 4. It could have been a 4.10, which it could have even been worse.
So Monticello wouldn't surprise me if take a re-rack here just to compose a bit. And you see he's got that chamois in his hand. And you see a lot of the tour players, both PBA50 and the Go Bowling PBA Tour players, use those chamois. How much more effective are those than just a towel for taking oil off the ball?
Can I say a ton?
Okay, absolutely.
A whole bunch.
Are those chamois hard to maintain?
No, not at all. And I think some of them, believe it or not, you can actually wash and let them air dry and clean them out. But they actually, even a microfiber towel tends to spread the oil around a little bit. It doesn't get it really off. Yeah. Those chamois are, they're awesome. For lack of a better word, they're absolutely incredible.
The can opener for Monticello is 3 in a row and a temporary 8-pin lead, but Campbell can take that lead right back with his own strike in the beverage frame.
You see, James, he gets that hot air on his thumb to create a little tackiness in that thumb hole, so it hangs on just a. Most people blow in the thumb hole. He actually blows on his thumb. A little bit different.
Well, he's from Clearwater, Florida, and it's a little dry here in Minnesota compared to what he gets in Clearwater with the humidity difference. And I'm sure, it makes a difference for him. He's got to make sure he's used to having that little tackiness on the thumb.
Oh, he got away with that one. That was a little bit right down lane, I thought, but it came back. And the pin carry here is really fantastic. There are a lot of kind of light swisher strikes. A lot of shots that guys were dead flush on didn't strike as much. So the pins fall pretty easily here if you can get to the pocket the same way twice.
Campbell, 55 years old. We mentioned this just his 6th national PBA50 tour stop in his career. He's cashed in 4 of his previous 5. Now make it 5 for 6. That's a heck of an effort.
Well, he's doing a good job of it. They even bought a little travel trailer. I mean, they're committed. They decided to come out, and they're going to travel around. Just like the guys. He become part of the motorhome crew.
When you start to step it out at 40 feet, that was a rare occurrence this week.
Yes.
You weren't stepping many of them out at all because you didn't know what was going to do the last 20. He knew it out of his hand.
That was that double fist pump.
And now Amleto looking to respond, extend
Yep.
the string out to 4 in a row.
Well, he needs this one to keep it close.
Amleto was the first foreign-born player, not just to win on the PBA50 tour, but to win a major on the PBA50 tour. A couple players have done it since then at the Senior U.S. Open. Get it from behind. How about
look at that. He got a mess. You normally don't get messengers from the backside, but he made an adjustment. He moved farther left, and you notice it still hooked just as much. So he's got 2 choices. He can either obviously change balls to go something that's going through the front a little bit better. He can move. Well, he's got 3 choices. He can go a little bit deeper, or he can add a little bit of loft on it. So hopefully it just gets through that front part of the lane, doesn't read as early.
So it's all because of what's happening in the front 25 feet of the lane, not the last 35 feet.
Right, because obviously the last 35 feet are still going left. He's got to get it to the spot. If you don't get it to the spot, you're in trouble. You can poke and hope all you want, but you got to figure out how you're going to get it there.
Pete Weber looking on. He'll take on the winner of this match in the semifinal. There's the roll. And paid dearly. And once again, another string of strikes ended by a split.
That is nothing unusual. And he got totally caught off guard because he flushed the last one, so he thought it was there. So this is where the lanes went into transition with no notice. Unfortunately, that's the game of bowling. Sometimes there's no warning that the lanes have changed. And every ball that goes down the lane moves the oil around it. And a lot of bowlers go, man, how come the shot can't hold up forever? Well, these balls take oil off the lane, and there's no way a shot can hold up, forever. I don't even think the throw bot has shot 300 because it soaks the oil off the lane. If you just repeat shot after shot after shot, it wears the path.
Yeah, I don't think you've got Throwbot with Brunswick, you've got Earl with the USBC. I don't think any of them have ever shot 900.
Right, because they can't move them. You have to adjust in this game.
Or even if they move, it's still a human making the guess.
Right.
And that's what it basically is, an educated guess from shot to shot to shot on what to do. And how about that for a response from Campbell?
Yeah. Obviously, he is not scared.
And something you don't see a lot of, I mean, on the PBA50 tour, but you see a lot more with the kids, is that bent elbow in the swing. And look at Campbell on the way back, and that elbow's cocked at about 15 degrees or so.
Yeah, his is cocked on the way back. The kids cocked theirs on the way down to load it. This is an old school loader. It actually stays loaded all the way.
Back from the grip and rip it days, that would be that.
Well, exactly. When your elbow's bent like that, you can't say that your arm swing's totally free because it takes muscle to bend that elbow. So, you watch the kids today, their arm is just really straight until on the downswing. You see a little bit of kink in the elbow and in the wrist. They get under the ball and just uncork it at the bottom of the swing. And that's exactly what he did when he went 260 over. He just struck a lot.
He's just bowling the pins right now. He doesn't care who that guy is on the same pair with him at the moment. It's just
well, realistically, shouldn't you do that all the time?
right.
I mean, your job is to beat the pins, not to beat the guy that you're bowling against. The only thing about the guy you're bowling against, that can get into your head and make you think the wrong way.
Right.
I mean, if that guy was never there, all you're doing is you're bowling against the pins. I don't care who's on that other lane. Guy, girl, my dog pushing it down there. Your job is to knock down the pins.
And no love on the 2-pin on that light hit, and Monticello in a boatload of trouble.
Yeah, James is shooting 270 if he goes off the sheet. Amleto, possible 220. So unless the roof falls in on this, James could be going in another match against another Hall of Famer.
Right in the fire. Out of the frying pan into the fire, and then out of the fire into the blast furnace against Brian LeClair.
I call Brian LeClair Sir Strike a lot, and that's just what he does. I mean, that guy, he strikes a ton. He's fun to watch.
I mean, look at LeClair's games today. 267, I mean, 267, 268, 259, 269, 249 position round. He's the only guy, I think, out of 12 games that had 5 games of 249 or higher.
Just, yeah, he throws big games at you. Other guys are winning with 2 O's and 2 teens. He's throwing 2 50s. And you get your 30 bonus pins. That makes up a lot of ground. Amleto with the ball change. Something a little cleaner through the front, stronger on the back end.
Is that the cover stock?
That's the cover stock. Okay. And the cover stock being actually a little weaker, which automatically makes it a little cleaner through the front. So if it can get through the front, it should technically have more power on the back end, because balls lose energy as they go down the lane. They slow down. And if it slows down too soon, you can hit the pocket all day, but you can't strike. You got to make sure that that ball has gotten through the front and hasn't slowed down enough. And that's what James has probably seen. He's gone to a choice, which is, I think, a little bit cleaner ball through the front than what he's been throwing through the week.
Looking to put the capper on 6 in a row and basically lock this game up. And once again, a little crowd noise. Good thing to do, just compose. You see right there, he's not overly worried about it.
Well, anytime something distracts you, realistically, they tell you just get off the lane, set the ball down, and start the whole process over. Don't just kind of back up and reset. Just start the whole process over, because everything's got to be the same.
Looking for the half dozen, and comes high.
Yep. And he should have got off the lane.
He's looking back again one more time, but it's just a pretty big expanse here at River City Extreme, and there's people walking into the restaurant area, people walking into the bowling area, and sometimes just...
Well, exactly, because where we're at in the bowling center, there's a hallway coming up to the bowling center. So if you unfortunately didn't know this was going on and a bunch of kids coming in having a good time, you know, they could be yelling, screaming, laughing.
Right.
And, you know, they didn't know any better.
And just enough on the 6 on the 10. And so that's going to switch everything over, up by 37. It's keeping on the lane for Campbell. Good time to experiment with maybe a different piece of equipment as well. Looks like he's just going for tape. I thought maybe he was going for a different ball.
Well, I agree. I think especially in the 10th, and you got this match won, I would be trying something else just in case, because you know your next opponent is going to be left of you using probably a little bit different kind of a surface, and those lanes could go into huge transition.
So Campbell just needs 5 pins on that first ball. Pardon me, 7 pins on the first ball.
I'm going to say, wait a minute, 7 on the first ball.
7 on the first ball. That's more than 7.
That's enough, and that's a win. He moves on to play against Pete Weber.
One Hall of Famer down, another Hall of Famer to go for James Campbell as he tries to take his first PBA50 Tour title. Number 3 seed Campbell against number 2 seed Weber coming up next. Our third step-ladder match. Stay tuned. More to come after Weber's practice.
Nice hand from Amleto Monacelli, everybody. Congratulations to Amleto, another top 5 finish for him. Amleto is going to Campbell next week and then on his way to Peru to coach his team. Majors, 2-time PBA 50 Tour Player of the Year, PBA and USBC Hall of Famer Pete Weber, and James Campbell. Nice to meet you. Campbell will start the match.
All right, there we go. It's official. Campbell will be starting this match. Weber choosing to finish on the left lane. And pretty interesting, right before Pete Weber's practice, Brian LeClair was entitled to 4 practice balls, and the pair turned him down. That seems kind of unusual with as tough as these lanes are, Tom.
Well, you would think that you'd want practice, but as challenging as the lanes got in match play today, I'm thinking that he doesn't want to change the lanes any more than they have to. So he forfeited his practice because he knows if they get as deep, I mean, they were all going over the left gutter at the end, and they're starting to migrate left now, so he figured, why tear up the lanes anymore?
So we'll see if that strategy pays off for him. He'll get 6 saddle balls when he comes on after this match. LeClair will take on the winner of this semifinal, Campbell, starting things off.
Campbell is probably going to be a little bit farther right. I'm guessing than Pete and maybe probably Brian, just for the fact that it looks like he gets around the bottom of the swing just a little bit more. He creates a little more skid through the front part of the lane. So that ball isn't reading that spot like the last match where Amleto actually seen earlier hook and was trying to chase it left and get away from it. So this will be a little interesting to see what happens with Pete if he's got that same early hook reaction that Amleto had.
First time we've seen Pete Weber in a stepladder in 15 months. Wow, that was some unusual pinfall to take the 10 down.
Pete with the famous Weber stare, like I can't even believe you thought about standing. He's throwing that pink idol, pinned down, just something that's smooth on the back end. And that's the biggest thing, I think, on this pattern. Is one, he's got enough axis rotation to make the ball hook. Oh, we got a ball change here. He didn't like, so he's going to a supersonic, which is still a strong, that's a big ball. Asymmetrical, pin up, supersonic. Interesting choice.
Could he maybe be going to 1 ball in each lane just from reaction that he saw?
Well, he could. I mean,
we didn't see it very often during this
no.
event.
Unless him and his ball rep decided something was different on that left lane. And that was the right call, obviously. He moved a little deeper with a bigger ball, and it worked.
Pete's best finish so far in 2019, 10th at our last event, the Suncoast PBA Senior U.S. Open.
Well, Pete's had some hip issues. I mean, some of the approaches were in the last 15 months were pretty tacky, and I know he went to the chiropractor numerous times trying to get his hip back into place so he could play. And bowling in pain is no fun. I can tell people about that.
Campbell only struck twice in 5 attempts on this right lane in his opening match against Amleto. And the 5-pin just kind of falls over and does nothing.
Yeah, and he got that ball way right down lane. That was like 6-7 at the break point. And that is like extreme no-no, unless you just got a boatload of hand or your speed's soft enough to get that ball to turn the corner.
So the polyester in hand. And the 7-pin likely to go down.
It's kind of interesting. If you watch James' setup, he's set up with a really relaxed wrist to keep a free swing, but yet in his backswing, he's got the elbow bent so that he can load up on the ball. I don't care what you do, as long as you can do it the same way every time, and then you can repeat shots.
Yeah, is repetition more important sometimes than form? In a lot of cases, yes.
Yes. There's no two people in the PBA, whether it be the PBA Tour or the PBA50 Tour, that look alike. Everybody has their own style. The thing that they can do is repeat shots. And if you can repeat shots, you can adjust to a lane condition. But, you know, these guys have had a lifetime of practice, so you should be able to repeat shots, or you would think so anyway.
Yeah, Campbell took quite a few years off from tournament competition. Rejoined bowling PBA national events back in 2017. And his first event back, he cashed the PBA50 Pasco County, Florida Open. His best finish this year was at the Giant Petroglyph BVL Open, where he finished 51st.
Well, he might be back into it because that's the same reaction as Amleto had, which is the wrong one. The ball read the mid lane way too soon. His son is quite a bowler. He's a big, strapping young guy, and he gets all over it.
So Weber, I'd say 85% of the time, he'd make this baby split. Not this time, though.
See, we've talked about Pete before with bowling shoes, and most of us out here have interchangeable soles, so in case there is slick or stick spots, we can kind of customize our sole. And a lot of us take our soles and chop them into thirds, so we have different parts on each part of our foot depending on the slide. So you might have a 8 in the front, and a 10 in the middle, and a 6 on the back side, just so you can taper your slide. But he's just got they almost look like entry-level bowling shoes, and sometimes on sticky approaches, there's no adjustment for him. He can't do anything.
Pete, you saw the little self-talk back there, back of the approach. Throw it better in this lane, and he does. And the wrap 10.
Yeah, he's going to get a little fired up here in a minute, because he almost got a little fired up right there.
You know, he made a comment. He made a comment yesterday during qualifying. I walked down. He was on the low end, and he had the front 4. He threw the 5th one, wrapped the 10 just like that. And he goes, "Of course, it's the best ball I've shot at the 5."
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, I talked to him earlier, and he goes, "It was tough watching guys, you know, get light hits and strike, or mixers, but that's the game. You know, if you got the right ball in your hand and the right ball speed, your area at the pocket becomes wider, and you get those breaks. You know, if you think you're going to dead pure one and hit the 1-3 flush all the time, that's a big misconception. That's not going to happen. And take the breaks when you get them. See, there's that little bit of broken wrist, relaxed release right there. Then in his backswing, you watch him bend his elbow. He loads it, and then he cups his wrist, So he starts out with a real relaxed, then loads it up in his backswing. And he's got great ball speed.
Well, he hasn't missed just in this left lane. He's 7 for 7. Or pardon me, he's more than that. He's 9 for 9 now. He had 7 strikes on this left lane in the first game. I wouldn't do any. I wouldn't write it in ink yet on a scorecard, but something tells me that.
Well, at the rate he's going, he's going to get a chance to bowl for a title because he's not worried about anybody. I mean, he's bowling the pins. He's not bowling an opponent.
Looking for 3 in a row in the 5th frame. He's taking a long time on the approach this time.
He takes quite a bit of time on the approach, just period.
But if you're going to do that, why not?
Yeah, and that's, strike spare, 3-bagger, shooting 280.
And Pete knows he's in trouble. And Pete's going back to that idle.
We still, I think, got the 24-second rule into effect on the tour. That's how much time you get, 25 seconds. I think Jim's taken about 17, 18 of them.
Weber needs to find something on this lane in a hurry.
That was inside off of his hand, and I thought it held. I actually thought that I was going to see something ugly at the other end, but
there you see our leader, Brian LeClair, coming down, taking a casual look, see what the scoreboard's at.
Well, I'm surprised he's not kind of watching Pete, to see what maybe not to do, especially if he's not just drilling the hole all the time.
Are there any players left out here on the 50 Tour that haven't gone to interchangeable thumbs? I mean, even Norm Duke's gone to the interchangeable. Walter
went to him. I think just about everybody has. It all depends. There's a couple different companies out here. You got Vice on his shirt, and you got Turbo, and I can't imagine having an arsenal of 15 balls and not having an interchangeable thumb so every ball feels the same.
Don't count Weber out yet.
No, all we need is somebody in the background to make some kind of comment to fire him up. Then he might strike for the next day and a half.
Well, I mentioned earlier in match play, if there's one guy that bowls well, pissed off, one of the best ever at it.
Oh, yeah. Who do you think you are? I am. That was classic.
You see going for the little extra moisture.
Yep. Everybody's got the same similar hand setup. Index finger really spread to make sure that you get around that ball.
Campbell, 6th frame, looking for 4 in a row. And
he's hoping for a little push. I think he got that inside. Well, he went around that one too much.
Because if you change the way your ball's rotating down the lane, not necessarily even the number of revs, you can fully change how your ball reacts.
Yeah, you change your axis rotation, you're going to change your break point drastically. Well, if you had 0 axis rotation, you wouldn't even have a break point. It just keeps going straight.
You go right between your finger holes and over your thumb hole.
Right.
No give me on this one with the 3, 6, and 10 for Campbell.
Oh, he nailed that one. The first time he shot at it, it was questionable. This time it was dead flush.
Back for the tape again, and under the ball return. And that's the second piece of tape we've seen him go to.
If he's over squeezing a ball, and people don't realize this, if you're squeezing it, odds that you're coming around it are pretty good because you're trying to hang on to it, and you don't want to let go of it when you're behind it because you think you're going to drop it. So you squeeze it too much, and your hand goes around it. So feel is extremely important, and people say, I never use tape, and I don't know how you can bowl and not use tape. Tape in, tape out. I mean,
and that went in the front of his thumb hole. So what's the difference between when the bowlers are putting it in the front as compared to the back?
Well, in the front, you're looking for a little texture, something to hang on to. If you put it in the back, it actually pushes your thumb more forward and locks you into the ball a little longer. You can actually put enough tape in the back part of your thumb to reduce your reverse pitch if you have any, or actually add a little bit more forward pitch. He caught something.
Yeah.
He looked to the right.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not many people over to the right. Most of the fans here are either behind or to the left.
Well, maybe the guy on the camera, he might have moved.
Jay's a rock out there. There he goes. Looking to bounce back.
He's still, I think, getting around the base. He did it again.
Yeah.
He's getting around it a little bit too much. He's trying to force it.
That's just nerves at this point?
It could be. You're getting closer to bowling for a title. Nerves could be coming into play. Adrenaline keeps going. I know as I bowl personally, my hand shrinks. So I'm constantly putting tape in. And the next morning I got to take it all out because I'm swelled back up again.
No, it's not even, could be just nerves either. It could be, he's already got 13 games bowled today, plus a bunch of practice and stuff. It could be just the gas tank starting to get a little fumy.
And there wasn't a big break in between sets either. You know, they got done, and there was like 45 minutes, and there was a gift.
He missed it so bad he made it.
Exactly.
Because if he would have hit that 2-pin any harder, it would have deflected away from the 8.
Yeah. 3-pin.
Or the 3-pin, I'm sorry. He would have deflected away from the 9.
What pin was that?
Yeah. Pete definitely going to take an extra minute here to get the composure together and figure out what he needs to do again. On this right lane,
the right lane, it played tricks on Amleto, and it's starting to play tricks on Pete. The key is getting it through that spot down the lane. Then if you force it through there, you know, still trying to hit the pocket and get a strike.
7th frame for Weber, looking for the turkey.
He didn't get it as far right. He crossed the first marker, which is at 15, almost 16, and only took it to 12 down lane. So he wasn't trying to create a big angle on the back end. And if he gets any farther in, it's almost like the old fallback. You know, you're just trying to keep it in line. Hit the 3-pin.
Is that oil that's pushed off the end of the buff?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And now, the lane he's had greater success on, and he'll be finishing the 10th frame on this lane as well. Wonder how much that had to do with changing Campbell as well, because he saw that Campbell struck 7 times. That's 7 times in that left lane. Move the guy to the right lane. Probably a reason for it as well.
I would
Not
think.
Just make him finish last.
You'd like to get the guy off his favorite lane.
Doesn't seem to be either player's favorite right now in that right lane. Walking it out. Wrap 10 again.
Yeah, and he took that to 12 like he did on the right lane. But, you know, you're throwing a big ball. That's a big asymmetrical ball, and it's not going to have, you know, the turn on the back end. Even though he's got great axis rotation, the ball just isn't shaping up as strong on the back end as he'd like to see it. Even though he hit the pocket, and I know he thinks that, you know, that should have carried, but that's the breaks of the game. Oh, he bounced that around. He might have got 7.
That's the first 10-pin I've seen bounced around like that all week long. And Pete, I thought he said something to somebody. I couldn't tell. Oh, he's just talking to himself. Okay. Pete, we never see that out of Pete, right?
No. Well, if you're a bowler, you probably talk to yourself.
So Campbell right now can max out at 245. Weber can only max out at 235. Big shot here for Campbell. 8th frame. And just splits the 8 to 9 beautifully.
Well, yeah, and he never got that one right of the marker down lane like the ones he did before. So now the question is, where is he going to throw it on this left lane? Because that has become an issue.
Yeah, the first time Campbell did not strike on this left lane today in the Stepladder was shot in the 7th.
A little moisture on that thumb, trying to create some tackiness.
Taking that second look down at the feet. Looked like a last-second little slight move left with the feet.
Well, they're trying to figure out. That lane is changing drastically. I'm surprised that Brian, he's over there, you know, just cool, calm, and collected. He hasn't walked over to see what's going on.
Wow.
So Pete leaves the 10-pin. Jim comes up, thought he threw it fantastic, and is making the turn and leaves the 7.
Head pin runs interference on everything trying to go left.
So there's a strange turn of events because now Pete can actually come up and shut the door.
There's a man with a large saxophone in the background. Let's hope it doesn't get tooted.
Is he going to start playing?
Ooh.
Well, that would be something that's happened that we haven't had happen.
Campbell dead on it.
Pretty happy that stood up. He can tell, waving at it.
Well, here we go. It's
So-
a frame and a half match now.
So after this is over, there is a band playing outside and a hog roast for all the people in attendance. This is quite the event that we have here at River City Extreme.
Yeah, chasing the ovation, a Prince tribute going tonight. And the PBA50 players getting a nice discount on tickets thanks to the River City Extreme as well. Strike here gives Weber a chance for the hammer to win. Is it?
Is it? Yeah. He almost gave it the crotch chop. I think they were waiting.
Looking at his fiancée Renee back there going, Pete.
She's got a tight leash on.
And how about that? 2 wrap 10s that don't even come close to falling down, and that slow roller.
This
Makes it
next
happen.
shot is huge. So we're going to throw the big ball one more time. What kind of adjustment are we going to have? And we got a hole in it, I just seen. So, and it's kind of on his axis, so that means it's just going to kind of mellow that ball out a little bit. It's not going to, it doesn't really enhance it. It just kind of keeps it tame.
Walking it out.
Solid 9. Uh-oh.
And he can't believe he left it. It
I
didn't
can't
look
believe
9
it.
pin high to me, but
So spare strike 95. We have the possibility of a tie.
yes, we do. Pete's got to get it back together here quickly and focus on the task at hand.
The last tie we had was Joel Carlson in Trenton, New Jersey for the win.
Ron Mohr, I think the only player to ever throw the front 9 in a championship match and lose a title. Tied at 279 after Carlson punched in the 10th and then lost the 1-ball roll-off.
That was amazing. What a match to watch. And we have a possibility of a tie here. Pete needs to strike. Campbell has to strike the first ball, not the second, pick up the spare, and we have a tie. This is a big count. It forces Campbell to come to the plate.
There's been plenty of times today we've seen 4, 5, and 6 on a count, of course.
And that one fall. Now, that didn't look near as good as the shot that didn't strike.
Pete throwing the double OK symbol down there at the rack, and now he's just turning into a spectator.
Well, there's nothing he can do about it now. It's, Campbell's up. He's got to stay cool, calm, and collected. Take your breath. Take your time. Don't rush this shot. Yeah, relax.
Yeah.
Because you need the first one.
When you're Campbell and you're 55 years old and this is the biggest shot of your career to this point.
At this point, you're right.
He's waited a long time for this to get here.
Don't study long and study wrong. Throw that thing.
Needs all 10.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I don't know if he was walking it out or he was just hoping it was going to strike.
Yeah, I think it was the second one because I saw the initial start to step out going, that doesn't look like a real sure step. We've seen a few sure ones from Campbell today.
Yeah, that was like, oh, please just hit the head pin, and he got rewarded.
A strike to win and
you
a
can
spare
only,
to tie.
Right, you can only do what you can do. You can't control what the opponent's going to do. So, it's up to James right now to make a good shot. Unless he does something crazy. A strike to win, spare to tie.
If he tie, it goes to the single ball roll-off. Pete Weber would have order choice and lane choice to start the roll-off.
This is huge. 18. He got it clear out to 8.
And he has to make a 210
yeah,
to tie.
I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to be the black cat because I was giving scenarios what could happen. Or the only way he could lose is split. And he split.
What a turn of events.
Well, this is makeable. I mean, it
has to be.
But I mean, it's not like 7-10,
right.
where the percentages are terrible.
You're talking a 20% chance.
Yeah.
25 to make it at this level.
It could be that high, I guess. But I mean, it's not terrible. But he has to make it.
Takes the polyester out to take the pattern out of play. Too heavy, no
Too heavy,
bounce.
no chance, and
wow.
It was a good run. I know he's disappointed, but I mean, he gave it a heck of a try.
So 215 to 214. Pete Weber takes the match against James Campbell, and Brian LeClair is going to get some practice. But joining us now in the booth for the rest of the run, PBA Tour champion, PBA former world champion, Michael Fagan. And Mr. Fagan, good to have you in the booth. Good to see you here in Minnesota.
Thank you, guys. Great to be here.
We're going to get your microphone just a little closer to your face here for a second. That one's, unfortunately, it's got a little floppy microphone. I apologize.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you, guys.
I heard a new son, Theodore?
Yep, Theodore, 3.5 months old.
Congratulations.
Doing very well, thank you.
You starting to get sleep again?
My wife has him trained like a Navy SEAL, so we're doing really, really well. He's sleeping 10, 11 hours a night already.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, we got to talk to Robbie Spigner during the position round a little earlier today, and this is great to tell you. Director of Business Development. That's a neat title because it's not just I'm operations. I'm doing this. You're working on doing all kinds of new things for these triple shift centers.
Absolutely, yeah. It's an easy way to say I'm the jack of all trades. I'm trying to work on a lot of different projects throughout the chain, and it really doesn't limit me to anything that I get to work on, which is a lot of fun because I get to focus on every single facet of the business that we can think about. I mean, I came into this business thinking about the bowling world, and obviously I want to get back to that part of the world, but these businesses are so complex that I get to touch on so many other facets of what we have under each roof.
Well, I'm sorry.
So it's great to see bowlers back in as owners of bowling centers. We've missed that for so long, and it's awesome.
Absolutely, and I think we want to make sure that we pay homage to the sport and continue to grow the youth programs and everything that goes on, and we have a fantastic foundation of league bowlers here in the greater Twin Cities area, and it's really exciting.
So 32 lanes here, you mentioned the bowling end of things, but there's so much more inside of River City Extreme that you have to keep your eyes on all the time. Humongous game room. By the way, I'm going to take that boombox off the wall before I go today. I want enough tickets while I was here. Humongous restaurant, great food, a service bar right by the lanes. You've got a band coming in tonight. You've got a hog roast. You've got banquet halls for people to have weddings at. Where do you find enough time in the day, not just for this center, but for 9 other ones as well, to keep all that on your plate?
Well, we are extremely fortunate. John Foss here is the general manager, and I mean, he keeps it all together, keeps everybody, keeps the trains on time, as they say. And like you said, we're always trying to diversify revenue streams here. I mean, obviously we want to continue to support bowling, but, we want to be able to attract a whole nother customer base. And if that customer base comes into the building to play video games or because of a wedding, and they end up falling in love with bowling, even better. It's fantastic.
What new projects are you working on?
So it's funny that Phil brings up the game room, because that's been a big objective and initiative of ours, is to really optimize that part of the business. So much data comes out of those games, and understanding people's trends and habits and how they interact with the machines. And for me, that's really fascinating to dig into the data and really try to extract consumer behavior.
Oh.
But as far as our bowling world is concerned, we have such a great foundational league base. I think we want to run more and more tournaments as we go along, and we have one location called the Mermaid that's very close to Minneapolis. Has a 70-room hotel attached to it, so a perfect venue for tournaments, and it's going to be hopefully a place that we see the PBA at a lot. We actually had a crazy event happen at the regional just a little bit ago, where we had, ironically, on the Del Ballard pattern, two gentlemen throwing back-to-back gutter balls on each one of their fill balls. I'm sure everyone in the bowling community has seen that video already, but it's that was at our Mermaid facility, and we want to keep holding more events. I mean, these are exciting. We want to bring people together, and it's really fulfilling for me, especially.
You see your league base growing?
Absolutely, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we have a couple centers that are almost at capacity. So, but if we can continue to kind of build that community and start building out some of the centers that have capacity available, then we want to just keep building different format leagues, long format, short format, and really kind of getting every single person, not just the super ultra competitive bowler, but the casual bowler, more involved in leagues as well.
When you left the PBA Tour to go back for your master's degree several years ago, did you imagine getting back into the sport in this fashion? That probably wasn't the goal of the master's degree.
I mean, you kind of just go where life takes you, right? I mean, I always loved the industry. I always wanted to kind of get back to it in one facet or another. And when Robbie Spagner came to me and told me about his plans, I was very excited. So, I'm just really happy to be back in the sport.
No.
We're glad you're back.
Yes, indeed. Glad to have you for this championship match. Pete Weber starting things off. And, boy, that pesky lane 17 from last game starts off with a strike here in the final.
That ball went through the pins a lot better than the previous two. So, he's, I would say, coming off that last win, and I'd have to give him the edge if I were a betting man.
Well, obviously, LeClair here throwing the same type of ball. I nicknamed him Sir Strike a lot because that's what he seems to do out here a ton. And he came from 10th all the way to the tournament leader. And he threw some of the biggest games in the tournament other than Walter Ray. Oh, my gosh, throwing a 300 in the tournament. That the only 300 we had. And Walter's first 300 doing it two-handed. So that's kind of unique. What do you think about that? I mean, you bowled against Walter for years. And to see as great as he is one-handed and all of a sudden him trying to perfect this two-handed thing.
It really is incredible to make that kind of change at that far along in his career and to commit himself to learning. And it kind of just shows his personality that he's never going to be done. He's always going to continue to try to evolve and learn and just continue working hard on trying to become the best he can be.
Well, I think he's the Iron Man of bowling because when he leaves here, he always goes does a clinic somewhere. He finds a regional. I mean, it's like he never stops bowling. I mean, I don't think he takes a break.
Walter actually did 2 clinics for us while on Monday. One of them at one of our best league centers, Sunray Lanes in St. Paul, and then as soon as he was done there, he drove up here and did another clinic. So, I mean, he's an Iron Man for sure.
That's a little left and high. So he's got light and high. That's never a good combination.
So not taking those 4 practice shots, probably hoping the lanes didn't break down any more than they were going to break down, could have been not such a good idea. What do you think?
He came on, he got 6, and he actually took a couple of those, took the last one for sure. He took and shot at a 10-pin just to see the reaction. But, can't be too confident right now after going 210 and 3-6-10 and ooh. And not the most concern cover.
What makes you guys think that why Pete has chosen to throw 2 different balls and the reaction that he's getting on, from both different balls? What's kind of spawned that?
Personally, I think the right lane it hooks earlier in the mid lane, and he went to a symmetrical ball to get that ball through the mid lane a little bit cleaner, and a smoother ball on the back end because it's pinned down just to get an even roll on the back end because the lane's getting tricky in the middle. Mm-hmm. And I think he went to a bigger ball on the left lane because he got more into the puddle and to try to create reaction on the back. I mean, that's what I see from back here.
Yeah, I mean, just by looking at James Campbell's last shot and then now Brian's first shot, Pete's not even flirting with the 210 at all. He's not even getting the ball really into a position anywhere on the lane. He's kind of just got a smooth ball in his hand, and he's able to fade it back where he doesn't have to even flirt with getting the ball away from the head pin.
The other matches previously, to me, it looked like guys were almost flirting with that out of bounds, getting it too far outside the marker down lane. I think if he hit 6-7, that's too much of a wiggle point down there. To me, 11-12, where you can keep that smoother reaction. It's a little bit tighter line, but you're not forcing the trouble as much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've blown up Twitter and Facebook with Michael Fagan in the booth, just so everybody knows.
Well, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. And it's another wrap. Why so many wrap 10s in that lane?
Well, if you see the ball, it's not continuing after it hits the pocket. It hits the 1-3, and it almost takes out the 8 pin. It's not continuing. You know, we say now the ball has to split the 8-9, and you don't see the continuation, even though it looks like it's going to.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely see a little bit of hydroplane going on in the back part of the lane, and you know, I mean, Pete's hand can. Ooh, that was skinny jeans, as Rob Stone would say. You know, Pete's hand obviously soft enough to get it through any spot, but sometimes it's just going to continue to kind of push too far, and I think that's what's going on when he leaves the 10 pin.
So what's the move for LeClair here? Right? Can you go right and firm on this pattern?
I think he's got to end up rolling it a little bit more so it doesn't get down the lane too far.
Well, he tightened up a little bit. He's not as deep in the front part of the lane. He still took it to 12 down lane. So, you know, I kind of seems like my eyes catch weird things. All the previous bowlers, fingers in first, thumb in, and you watch LeClair, it's thumb in, then fingers in. What's your thought on that?
The few guys that have done that over the years, Tommy Jones, DJ Archer, a few others, Ronnie Russell, I mean, I don't know how they do it. I could never do that. I mean, my hand would never come out of the ball. So,
yep. Well, Wayne Webb does it too. He's thumb in, fingers first. But, you know, as a bowler, you experiment and try other things. And I've tried it, and I have to agree with you. It's like my thumb's never going to come out of the ball if I do it that
Tommy
way.
Baker's been doing it for a really long time too, and I mean,
yeah,
a couple years.
But but it just seems like he would go around it. But you know, it's a feel thing, and the way Tommy Jones puts his thumb in anyway, then rotates to his fingers. That
he locks himself in probably more than anybody, and that's what is most incredible about. First time I looked at his ball and I started to put my hand in, I was like, oh, your thumb shifted, I think. Oh, no, that's how I put it in. All right. Whoa.
Weber looking for the bounce back strike after. Ooh, he's not happy with that at all. And
no,
that
wasn't even good off his hand. It was inside. That ball never had a chance to push to the right.
And it looks like we're all square again here, unless Pete can slide this over. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Brian, especially today, has gotten on a tear. So, I mean, you know, the way he's been bowling, that first double might be a sign that he's going off the sheet. You know, he's been striking that much.
How about
Look at that. Great shot. Slid the 3 over. I'm really impressed with Pete that he's being as reserved as he is, because I was expecting something to come flying him around. You know, he's mellow. I'm impressed.
I think it's the self-anger still at the first ball he threw in that frame.
He recovered nicely there. That was a great pickup. You know, he's got a good look on both lanes. It seems like LeClair's getting lined up, so we should have a nice match on our hands in the second half.
So you still do any bowling?
I'm trying to find some time. I really am. It's hard right now with the newborn and the new responsibilities at work, but trying to find some time.
And that 9 teased him, and it went down.
Pete's got such great focus. I mean, like Norm and yourself, the guys that get out there and do this, that's the hardest part of this game is keeping your head in the game and not letting your mind go nuts while you're bowling. You do any self-talk while you're up there when you're bowling, or you just kind of get up and throw the ball?
Oh, no. Yeah, self-talk is huge. I mean, you know, overcoming all different sorts of emotions out there. I mean, you know, fear, anxiety, anything that can kind of be a nuisance to what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
I mean, because it is 100% mental at that point. Once you've figured out your personal skill set and the ability that you can do what you need to do with a bowling ball, then it's just all mental.
So LeClair here with a conversion finds himself down by 7 pins.
Did you see the way that ball hit the pins? I mean, he left a 10 pin, or 7 pin rather, but it just kind of like hit kind of flat.
Yeah,
I mean,
the 5 just kind of went.
The 5 just barely kind of went down. It's like, ooh, I don't know.
That lane is definitely a lot tighter down the lane. So, I mean, I think depending on if Pete bounces back here, he definitely didn't throw a very good shot. But I think that right lane is going to tell the difference.
So 248 the maximum for LeClair, 265 Pete's max, with half a match to go.
$20 to 12. Oh, and we trip out the 410, kind of crumbled.
Pete did the same thing last match with that same 410 hit. Got them both to drop. You miss the fire of competing, being in a match like this?
Absolutely. I miss the competition. I miss the guys. Don't miss the travel. I mean, I love sleeping in my own bed every night. But,
Fully understand.
I definitely want to.
Well, you could get a motorhome and you could have your own bed with you all the time. Well, I'm just saying. You're
going to drive it for me.
And break down in Rawlings, Wyoming for 12 days.
Let's not even talk about that.
See?
Hey, the best part of that whole breakdown, it was a recall. It was covered. I didn't have to pay for it. The problem was being in Rawlings, Wyoming for 12 days. Oh, my gosh.
Let's see what Pete can do here. Pete looking for a double in his half of the 6th frame. Came around it nice.
He came around it to try to create a little bit more angle entry. You see, you always see Pete's hand open, but that time you could see his fingers just kind of snapped on it a little bit, trying to create something.
So I want to hear a little bit more about this Wyoming trip, or inadvertent trip.
We only have 4 more frames of bowling to cover here, so.
I'm wondering, if you started singing "Home on the Range," the deer and the antelope.
We had deer in the parking lot where we were at. We had deer in the parking lot. It was I broke down on Memorial Weekend, and the part couldn't come out until after Memorial Weekend. In time they got it. I was there 12 days. Oh, it was brutal. I missed the Masters because I couldn't get there. And it was a special order part. It was on a recall.
But hey, you get that mobile home, come back out on tour.
Ooh.
That was weak.
See, off his hand, I thought that was a great shot.
I did too. I thought that was going to strike. I know he did because he's pretty much down on one knee. He's trying to figure out how to strike on that lane, and obviously the key to winning this match is going to figure out who's going to double up on that, I said right lane, left lane. I remember, this is years ago, I think the first time I met you it's at the Bradley, and we were like in the top 5, and we were talking, and we were talking about rotation, and your rotation being totally different. You said you could always tell where somebody was from by the way their ball rolled, because your axis rotation was totally different, and you were getting the ball to do tricks on a flood, and everybody else was sanding in with a brick trying to get a ball to react.
Well, I would say 20 years ago that was a good shot by LeClair. 20 years ago, I would say that certainly was correct. Nowadays, it's tough because I don't think you see that disparity from, in New York they do the lanes this way. In California they put a lot of oil down, and Texas they're always dry. So you had that trend. I don't know if it still holds true, but I would have definitely say that 20 years ago for sure.
And it's been about 20 years ago when we did that.
So LeClair looking to get into the lead.
Yeah, Sir Strike-A-Lot needs to put this one 10 back.
That was a solid shot there.
Brian's been bowling with that knee brace on. I mean, he looks like RoboCop with that leg thing on, but he's had those knee problems. And since he wears that, he's able to post shots again. He was getting to where he couldn't post a shot anymore without that brace on his leg.
It saved the back half of his 2018 season because it was so bad the first half of that 2018 season for him. They gave him his Player of the Year award early when we were in Farmingdale, New Jersey, because he thought he was done for the year.
Right.
Without that, and that brace came along and saved him.
About 23 at the arrows, down to like 11. Still staying with the same ball. Is that the right? It's obviously the right choice on the right lane. What is he going to do on the left lane?
I think he's going to have to throw almost a perfect shot here. I mean, he got one in and like that last shot was really good, and it just kind of flat 10'd. If he got it a little bit firm, it was going to ring 10. So I mean, I think he's really got to shape it to the right spot, and I mean, and he was flirting with a stone 9 earlier, so he's got to throw it perfect right here.
Guys use a lot of different hand positions, and some guys, if they're looking for a little more back end tilt, which gives them a little more skid in the front, which I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but they tuck their pinky to get the ball, a little bit farther down the lane. And Pete doesn't do a lot. Yeah, he might be doing it there. He normally doesn't.
Still have a chance for 244. And the returns shaker 7. We saw one for LeClair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's making great shots. It's just gotten a little bit of extra carry down in the last game and the last 20 frames bowled, and it just is not quite making the corner.
And you would think with his axis rotation, and he's got that softer speed, he could get that ball around the corner a little bit.
Both these players have not seen the winner's circle since 2017. LeClair saw it last at the Giant Petraglia BVL Open. During his Player of the Year season in 2017, Weber closed out the PBA50 season that year with the win in the DeHaze Insurance Group Championship.
Hello, LeClair can take the lead on this shot. Really strong wrist position that he uses. I mean, he stays cupped, real cupped all the way through the shot. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
That almost rolled up to the, and it's getting swept, it almost rolled up to the 6-pin spot.
It'll be reset in its original position since the pin setter did knock it down.
So he has a 3-pin lead. He converts this spare. So it's all a matter of what he does in the 10th. He could double 9 and win this in the 10th, even if he picks this up.
I would say both players are finishing on their stronger lane. So I mean, it's really just who's going to perform in the 10th.
So the 6-pin was the pin that was left in a pocket shot. Okay.
So what time does the party start?
I think they're delaying it because of
of the match.
The matches here. So yeah, I think as soon as that last ball goes down the lane, they're going to rev up the guitars.
We're going to hear that saxophone back there.
Robbie Spangler next to the booth, he goes, "This is the party." He's right. At least for two more shots here for each player. Double and 8. LeClair shuts out.
Huge shot here. I mean, if you watch Brian, he actually kind of gets his thumb in and rotates it around and puts his fingers up. I mean, he kind of locks in.
And he has struck the last 3 times he's been on this lane.
20. He got that a little farther right, and he.
That was a great shot, though.
Yep.
He posted it. He got it to the spot, and like I said, this is a strong lane. So, he throws another shot like that. I think it's going to carry.
Game, set, match. Just can't do something off the wall in the fill shot. Big shot here.
LeClair looking for his 4th PBA50
A
title.
little extra time, 20 to like 11 again, and that was 10 back. That was better than the first shot.
After that after those first 2 frames, it wasn't looking good for him. But I mean, he really stepped up these last 8 shots and just pured it.
Well, he had a great look today in match play. I mean, he said he came from 10th all the way to first. He had a look when the lanes got really touchy. He had a look that nobody else had, and he kept the ball in play. You never really seen those errant shots where he 2-8-10.
Well, one solid shot here, and he wraps it up.
Stay behind the foul line and get 8.
Oh, that's enough.
How about 8?
That is enough.
There it is. 225 and the win
No sleeper.
for Brian LeClair. LeClair's 4th PBA 50 title.
Unbelievable.
And we're going to have John Weber present the trophy and Robbie Spangler present the check to our winner, Brian LeClair, shortly.
It's been fun to see Brian LeClair come into his own on the senior tour, on the PBA50 tour. He's anyway, senior tour player of the year, former player of the year. It's been fun to watch him really kind of show his skill set.
Big monkey off your back when you haven't won for a while.
Absolutely.